taking my bag in.
You taking your bag in? He's taking his bag in. Right, we're here to visit MYGOLFSPY. I want to see what I can learn. You right?
Sorry.
Even what I was doing to him. From MYGOLFSPY and their testing clubs. I always love trying to learn from the best. I would say they're pretty good at testing equipment. They've got their formulas. I'm pretty sure I know what I need to do, but let's see what we can learn from the great team at MYGOLFSPY. Right, we're here at MYGOLFSPY. This is the lab.
The lab.
Is that
lab
what we're
X.
calling it? Established in 2008.
Yeah.
So I've been here a while. This is where the testing happens. This is where
That's when the magic happens, yeah.
You get everyday golfers coming through and testing, do you?
Everyday golfers, handicaps from +4 all the way to about 18 handicap with whatever swing you can think of, we've got it in here.
Okay.
We've got about 100 testers that we can call upon at any time, depending on the test that we do. So for instance, if it's a driver test, we want everyone to be involved in that.
Yeah.
Driving iron's going to be a little bit more selective,
Okay.
because it's designed for that person, you know? So,
Yeah, yeah. So from a big body of testers,
Yep.
you're then bringing them in here and they're going to hit a series of shots over an hour, over 2 days, over 2 weeks. Obviously each
Yep.
test could be specific, I get that, but as a general rule, like, are they coming for multiple days or how often do they hit?
So for instance, the driver test that we did, we got 35 testers and we do 4 drivers at a time.
Okay.
And we fit them with the stock shafts that we already do, and they come, I think it was about 12 sessions that they came in.
12 sessions, so that...
And it's an hour-long session.
Okay.
So we get them warmed up, then we see dialed in with every single club,
Yeah.
as much as we can, obviously. And then from there, they go through the protocols that we do.
So 12 sessions, I mean, that could be over weeks, I guess,
And
subject
takes-
to their
it
time.
takes 2.5 months to do that test.
Yeah, fantastic. That's collecting a lot of numbers.
It's a lot of numbers.
In that hour session, how many do you collect every shot from warm up to finish, or do you like turn the data on once they're at a certain speed, or what?
So once they're warmed up, and then we get them dialed in, and we know
That they're happy,
that they're at their peak.
Yeah.
Then we get rid of all the shots that are warmed up,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
we go from there.
And how many shots would you normally capture in one session? 12 sessions or one session?
So one session we're looking
a
about,
minimum of?
we do 16 good shots.
Yeah.
So we're looking about 60 to 70 shots, and then from there we see if we need to filter out any shanks, whatever it may be, so that it's not skewing the data.
Yeah, because that leads it on to my next question.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's always outliers. People test.
Yeah,
and
all the time.
The old delete button is a good old subject that people talk about. You are, in theory, so ShotScope do it. They get rid of the top, I think, 25% and the bottom 25%. So if I hit my driver and it's a sprinkler and it goes
Exactly, we get rid of that one.
yards, they get that out of the data to give a better idea of what they call their playing average.
100%.
You guys are looking at the shots, and if there's outliers in there, misreads, anything can happen.
Yeah, we've seen some misreads. We go through so many parameters when we go and look at the data, making sure that this launch angle is within the consistent standard deviations.
Yeah.
Spin rates consistent.
Yeah.
If it's like 4,000 revs higher, it's 9 times out of 10 going to correlate across the board. So we just get rid of that one.
Yeah.
We make sure it's consistent but accurate at the same time. So
Yeah.
if you do have mishits, we keep those in there as long as they're in the parameters
Yes.
that we want.
Because they need to be in their deviations.
Because
don't
at the end of the day, no one strikes it exactly the same
Yeah.
every single time.
Yeah.
So you want to capture as much as you can, keeping as good data but getting rid of the shit data.
they?
if that
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely. So they're running a freewood test at the moment, aren't
Yep.
you? So I'm going to join this test. Now I can't do 12 sessions, so we're just going to show you how they would do the test. But my data hopefully will be included in this test. So when will this freewood test be published for your readers and anyone watching my videos? So people who watch my
Yeah.
videos and others are definitely.
So we're looking about 2 to 3 weeks. We'll get this published.
Okay. And when did the test begin?
So we started the test about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So each test is about 3 to 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And then the driver test, we have more testers.
Yeah.
The test that you're doing right now, we have 20 testers in there.
21 now.
21. Well, yeah.
Crank the machine up. Come on.
So right now we've got 4 drivers that randomly.
Freewoods.
Yep. Sorry, 4 3-woods.
Yeah.
That we randomly sort every single time. So each tester is going to have a random assortment from there.
Okay.
And then once you get dialed in, once we're warmed up, we can then look at them and say, all right, you're pulling this one a little bit.
Yeah.
So either change the shaft in if we can. If not, let's decrease the loft to see if we're still hitting that launch angle that we want to hit, that window, with the correct spin. And hopefully, it's going to open up a little bit, so it gives us a little bit more of a straighter ball flight. We're trying to get as straight as center as we can, for 9 times out of 10.
Because you're using random clubs, there's going to be an element of them having to adjust, and you're going to then, as they're going through the hitting process, you're going to try and dial the club in to make sure that they're happy that they could hit the center line with it.
Correct.
And then they're happy, they put their hand up and said, oh, I'm happy with that, and then you turn the test on him.
Well, it's tough when it comes to a tester knowing what they think is right and what we believe to be true. So we're always watching the tester. We'll never take our eyes off them. So if we see them trying to manipulate it, we say, all right, let me just tweak that, and we'll make sure it's a little bit better.
How blind are those tweaks? Does that make sense? As in, so I'm going to spot, I'm already spotting clubs I know. Do you mind if they come in, you know, because I already know what this one is about. So my knowledge of this one, someone's instantly, I know there'd be a category golfer would pick that up and go, oh, I can't hear this one, you know, and then that, in effect, that's hard to deal with.
Yeah.
I guess part of that is having a big enough test base. One. Anything else? Do you sometimes take one out thinking, well, let's, you know, because if you're totally trying to do stuff with that one, let's just forget that one.
If we capture all the data. Because for me, I can't. For instance, the Zexio, it's not. I have a violent transition. So I try and keep that one completely in that window that I'm trying to do. So I have to potentially swing it a little bit smoother because that's not designed for me. I try and.
But you're still collecting the data.
You're still collecting the data. Because then we can look at it as a whole. And then we can break it down by swing speeds and say, all right, if you're a slower swing speed, this one could be an absolute gold gem.
So when we tested it with your demographic of golfers, we found that this tended to happen. So even though they're hitting it and they can't quite feel it working enough, that's something that you'll be able to, in effect, from a main test, get little tests that swing off it.
Exactly, and that's what we call laps.
Yeah,
so we can get the main test, and then we can pull little nuggets out of it that we see, and then go from there. So,
well, let's get tested.
All right, you got 2 shots left. So you're going to hit that 5 shots, then switch, 5 again, switch again, 3 times through.
And do you do that with every test? It's you alternate? I mean, that's one of the things I definitely see with when people go for fittings, when it's maybe a bit more of a selling process than what you're doing, which is collecting, because you're neutral, you don't care which one, what any of them do, you just want to know
we want it to be consistent and fair across the whole test.
But I definitely see people hitting 10, 15 with a club and then 10, 15 with another.
And then you might hit one bomb with another and capture that one bit of data and then be like, oh, this is the longest one, but it's actually not, potentially.
So I like that, and that's something people watching should take away. If you've got a fitter who's not alternating clubs, when I was doing tests, when I started working with a data guy, he was like 2 shots with one, 2 shots with, he wanted one change, one change. But the problem with it sometimes is when you've got changeable stuff, it takes forever. 2 shots, change shaft, change.
And then your swing starts becoming a little bit slower. You're not really getting any good data. So we like a sweet spot between 4 to 5 shots with each club.
That's definitely something people really take away from. You can see, look, we've got the face marked up, so it's ball that they're collecting, but they're also collecting, obviously, they want to know where it's struck on the face, they want to know what the face is doing. So if you think about that amount of data, I mean, just me as a coach, I want access to that data. I want to go, guys, you know, everyone who swung with this path, with this angle of attack, what was the general strike pattern, stuff like that. It's just, wealth of data like this is just so powerful. So we've done our test, really interested with the numbers. I mean, the numbers are interesting, but we'll come to them. There's a club in there that you're not meant to know about yet, so we don't need to talk about the actual numbers. I'm more interested in, you know, you talk about how many you're collecting. Hitting 5, 5 and 5 is a great thing to do.
Yeah.
You know,
keeps it consistent, keeps it fair, that's what we want.
Because even in our little test, when we came to the second batch of 5s, we saw a different performance, didn't we, in one of the clubs, because I had kind of found strike by then, because people get used to hitting in their environment and what have you. Let's talk about testing as a whole then. Like at the end of these sessions with the people that come in that are testers, are you sharing this information with them as well? Because you're all about helping the consumer. I guess you are trying to say, look, you know, you keep saying you like a 7-degree driver, but actually we're seeing here maybe you don't need that. Do you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if we have those tests for a driver example, right? They like to see it roll out to 250 or whatever.
Yeah.
But first off, we ask them how far do you actually hit, and it's normally 280, and you actually get them on here and it's 250.
Yeah.
So that lie-in is always going to happen.
Yeah.
But what we like to see is we say to them, all right, well, if that lower driver number, you're not hitting the window, so you're not optimizing. Yes, you might get 20 yards of roll, but you're carrying it 30 yards less.
Yeah.
So on a wet course, I mean, you're screwed. So
Carrying bunkers.
we want it. We always go for windows.
Yeah.
And the windows that we know to be true, we try and get everyone in that window, and 9 times out of 10, it's always going to be better for that golfer.
So even at the end of the day, you're not selling anything here because you
No.
don't actually sell any brands. If a tester comes in with a perception and you run the test, but you don't talk to them during the test, obviously you just let
Correct.
it unfold. When it's finished, you might say, look, just get rid of that freewood. Like, go and see your pro. Like, we're not going to sell you one, but that freewood isn't, which is good, isn't it? They're like helping out the person who,
At the end of the day,
kind of what you're all about, isn't it?
We're here for the consumer. At the end.
Yeah.
That's our job.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
good. And then let's just finally then, what about the state of testing? You know, testing, I've seen it over the years that I've been testing the clubs. My protocols of testing have changed from people I've worked with, getting in contact with people who work with stats, to watching what you guys do as well, because I think you certainly influence what I do. You may be not influencing enough of the world. Like, what do you think of the stat? Because there's a lot of testers out there.
There's a lot of
isn't there?
testers,
and
yeah.
I see things that I just think, ooh.
Not up your alley.
Is that a test? What do you think? You know, I respect your opinion. What do you think of the state of testing?
Honestly, more shots the better.
Yeah.
The more data points that you can collect. If you hit small amount of shots, it's hard to see differences.
Yeah. Because they're so close.
They're so close. So center strikes you're going to see pretty consistently across the board.
Yeah.
When it comes to seeing 15,000 shots, you get to see a whole array of different data
Yeah.
that you'll never ever get to see.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you either hit 5 or 15,000, or in thousands.
Yeah.
And we're in the 15,000 because we believe that that is the way to test.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we get to, with that data, we get to pick the, say you're a high toe hitter.
Yeah.
And we've tried to change it, you can't.
Yeah.
Or we can find that high toe strike point from that 15,000 shots and say, out of the 35 drivers that we tested, this one is the best one for a high toe or a low heel. Or if you're looking for ball speed, here's the best one for ball speed. It's hard to do that when you just do potentially 5 or 10 shots.
Yeah.
And we capture the data across the whole board, all the face.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're hitting it across the whole face.
Yeah.
You're never really hitting exactly the same point, exactly the same swing speed, exactly the same face to path, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So we're all about forgiveness across the face, because that's where we see the meat of the data.
Yeah.
Is the difference in ball speed, difference in distance, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And
When it's moving across the face.
correct.
And it's interesting, isn't it? And then from that, I guess, from the tests that they do, you can then start making decisions as in, yeah, well, I am a high toe. So next time I go to my fitting, I'll be a bit more informed to say, maybe can we start with these clubs?
Exactly. And at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're testing all these products so you don't have to go out and do it, consumer.
Yeah.
And when it comes to it, we're giving recommendations. At the
Kind
end
of
the day.
narrowing it down a bit.
So instead of you having to go out and hit 35 drivers to find the golden ticket,
Yeah. There's a golden ticket.
Apparently.
Where's the golden ticket? Where's the golden ticket? Is
there
it in
are-
the back?
There definitely clubs that outperform other clubs.
Yeah.
But
In situation.
potentially. So when it comes to it, right, we give you a recommendation. Here's your top 5.
Yeah.
Here's, if you have a slice, here's the best raw bias one.
Yeah.
We're not saying go buy it.
Yeah.
We're saying here's the top 5 out of 15,000 shots.
Go and test them.
Go and see if this one, and it might not be any of them.
Yeah.
Because what's best for me might not be what's best for you.
Yeah.
It's just a lottery ticket at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's good. It's really good.
Yeah.
Well, that was fantastic. I've always wanted to catch up with those guys. I love what they're doing. Definitely a great resource for going out there and seeing what club you might want to test next. they kind of are the blueprint of how testing should be. It's great what they're doing. I mean, I would love to have access to more of their data because it's just great that they've got that many people hitting shots. Yeah, professionally done. I was impressed with that.